Mayor West.
Here.
Mayor
Catchings. Councilman Bowman. Here. Supervisor McCarty. Here. Supervisor Hickle.
Here.
Councilman Long. Here. Mayor Alexander. Councilman Southall.
Here.
Mayor Glover.
Here.
Supervisor Cornwell. Mayor Newman. Here. Mayor Dyer.
Here.
Mayor Pond. Here. Supervisor Shepherd. Here. Senator Lucas.
Here.
Senator Mason. Here. Delegate Tata.
Here.
Delegate Backus.
Here.
Delegate Knight. Here. CCP Board Member Stanton. Here. Commissioner Rich. Here. Director DeBrule. Officer Nelson.
Present.
Thank you. Next is approval of the agenda. Could I have a motion, please, for approval? Thank you, sir.
Second.
Thank you. Have a motion for approval. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next is a chairman's comments. I would like to ask Doug Smith to come to the podium. Doug has a special presentation. Several of us mayors had an opportunity recently to go to Germany along with some other leaders, a fairly small group, and had a great time talking about workforce development and got to meet some very interesting German companies. So I'd like to turn this over to Doug, our Alliance. He's the one who organized the trip along with Sean Avery.
Mayor, thank you. Mayor West, appreciate that very much. And we'll be quick. This is fun. So you all know, as the mayor said, we had a group that went over on a workforce mission that was just a fantastic trip, trying to really understand how the German economy prepares their workforce. And there's a lot to be learned from that. And Sean and I, one of the things I like to say about the Alliance and the Workforce Council now is we're really flip sides of the coin. And we're doing a lot to support one another because neither one of us can be successful without the other one. But as part of when Kevin found out we were going on the trip, he said, listen, the company that built our boring machine, the tunnel boring machine for the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel is near Stuttgart. And it would be fantastic if you all could get up there. The reality is they ended up being 100 miles or so away. And just given our schedule, it was just too tight. But Martin Herrenknecht and Michael Kimmerskamp, who were with the firm, came over and presented this model. And I told somebody before the meeting, I've been using the term the Stanley Cup. They said maybe the claret jug is the better piece. We were presented with a model of this boring machine that we wanted to bring back, and I'm thrilled. It is, when I handed it to Sean, it was in one piece. So hopefully it will still be when we get here. But
That's why I haven't opened it.
that's right. And you all know this, but it's worth hearing. So Herrenknecht, when we met Dr. Herring, so Sean and I were actually able the next day to lead a small delegation up to Schwanau and visit this facility where they're building these boring machines that are going all over the world. And it is a pretty phenomenal operation. Dr. Herrenknecht is 81 years old, started this company in 1977 with 6 people. And today, after 4 decades, they have 5,000 employees. They're in more than 30 countries. They are the market leader on tunnel boring technology. And now they've gotten into exploration and mining. And you all know this, but it's worth just putting it in the record. The tunnel boring machine that you all acquired, Mary, is a mammoth excavating machine that is digging the tunnels for the expansion of the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel. The machine does 2 things simultaneously. That the cutter head turns and excavates the soil. And then the second process is a robot arm installing precast concrete shell segments behind the cutter head of the tunnel boring machine to hold the soil open so that when the machine moves forward, the tunnel stays open. And to get it, we got the opportunity to get into one of these machines that obviously wasn't y'all's, but what is happening under the bridge tunnel, under the Hampton Roads out there really is pretty phenomenal. Fun thing about this company from an economic development standpoint, they're now getting into offshore wind. Their technology is starting to bore where we're going to floating turbines is the next phase. But they do have to be tethered, and they will be tethered into the seabed, and their technology is doing that work. So we're hopeful that Michael Kimmerskamp is going to come back to Hampton Roads here shortly, and so we're hoping there'll be other relationships to be had with them. But this thing is really quite an apparatus, and we were thrilled to represent the region. But love this picture of the 5 mayors. That's Martin Herring Connect, which is the second generation of this company that was there. But on behalf of the Workforce Council and the Alliance and the mayors that were on that trip, Mayor West, we'd like to present this model to be displayed here and let folks show it off. And then I'm going to pass around some booklets and nothing for you, just to sort of thumb through during the meeting. And you'll start to get a sense of the scale of what these folks develop. It really is pretty phenomenal. But Mayor, thank you and appreciate being with you this afternoon.
Thank you both very much.
Yeah, you go for it.
Someone do-
You gotta get in the middle there.
Okay.
Three, two, one.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it. All right, don't believe that thing here. Hand that to Kevin when we're done. It got here in 1 piece.
Two things I've quickly learned as chairman of this organization, you have to be able to learn to sign your name very quickly and to be able to take a picture. So thank you so much for that. If you have not had an opportunity to go to the tour, for Chris Hall and the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel staff have been given tours, and I had an opportunity to do it a few weeks ago. It's really a fantastic opportunity. It really is eye-opening, and kind of you get to see firsthand what this machine and this whole project is doing. And Chris's inside information really was very, very interesting. I'd like to ask Kevin, are there any public comments?
Mr. Chairman, we have not had any public comments received in writing, nor has anyone expressed interest to provide oral comments today by signing up.
Thank you, sir. Next is consented items. Mr. Page, would you please?
Sure. Thank you, Chair West. Members of the commission, before you in your packet are the consent items. 5A is the minutes of the June 15th, 2023 annual organizational meeting. 5B is the fiscal year 2023 annual report to the Joint Commission on Transportation Accountability relating to the Hampton Roads Transportation Fund. 5C is HRTAC investment policy update referencing the verification of deposits. 5D is the I-64 Denby Boulevard Interchange Project Phase 2 preliminary engineering and right-of-way. UPC 123656 standard project agreement. 5E is the I-64, I-464 interchange exit 291 flyover ramp improvements. UPCs 120375 and 123322 standard project agreement. And the last item on your consent agenda, sir, is the Bowers Hill interchange study 5F. UPC 111427 standard project agreement for the second amendment of that project. Those are the consent items, sir. The recommended action is a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Could we have a motion, please? Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Next is our action items. I think we have 3 here. So, Mr. Page, would you please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. In your agenda packet is agenda item 6A, which is an action item. It's the HRTAC fiscal year 2023 audited financial and compliance report. In accordance with our enabling legislation, the Auditor of Public Accounts, as you all know, must conduct the annual audit of HRTAC. PB Mars is an outside auditing firm that was engaged by the APA to conduct this independent audit. We did hear this morning in the Finance Committee from PB Mars, and Finance Chair Hippel has taken action in his chairmanship as the Finance Committee, and his committee has given him authority to report out those recommendations. So, Mr. Hippel, I'd like to turn the floor over to you, if that pleases you, Mr. Chairman, to report out with the Finance Committee.
Thank you. At the Finance Committee meeting held this morning, the Finance Committee had a detailed discussion with a representative from PB Mayors who conducted the Commission's FY 2023 audit. Following the discussion, the Finance Committee took action and recommended that the Commission approve the draft of the FY 2023 audit, financial, and compliance report for HRTAC. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Finance Chair Hippel. Mr. Chairman, I'm turning the floor back over to you, sir. This concludes my comments and also those from the Finance Committee Chair. Thank you. And return it to you for the suggested motion for you to hand to the councilor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Page. Thank you, Mr. Hippel. Can we have a motion, please? To approve.
The motion reads as follows. The Commission, one, approves the draft fiscal year 2023 audited financial and compliance report for HRTAC, and two, authorizes the Executive Director to work with the Auditor of Public Accounts to finalize and provide its distribution.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next item.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your agenda, action agenda is item 6B, the decision brief, and there's a presentation that's before that in your packet. Is the 2023 HRTF backed TIFIA loan and associated bond anticipation notes authorizations. And this is the Hampton Roads Express Lanes Network Segment 4C, which is accompanied by resolution action 2023-02. This item before you is very similar to what this commission has taken action on. It's a very similar process on two previous financings. Although it may appear to you as two financing actions today, it's actually for one. It's a bond anticipation note if market bears profitable for that to the benefit of the commission, and also authorization for a TIFIA loan. The Finance Committee heard a detailed discussion today on this presentation from both bond counsel and our financial advisors. Before I turn the floor over to you, Mr. Hippel, I would like to allow Ms. Shan from PFM Financial Advisors to make some brief comments to the commission, and also turn it over to bond counselor Ballou before we then turn over to Finance Committee Chair Hippel for his report. Thank you. Ms. Shan?
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. As Kevin mentioned, this is our third time of attempting to utilize this two-pronged approach, short-term financing taken out by long-term financing. Each time, the strategy is not guaranteed, but we have had evaluated and analyzed all the elements associated with the strategy. And right now, the current market indicate pretty sizable economic values. So that's why we come to the board and seek approval for both that transactions.
Eric Ballou, Kaufman and Knowles Bond Counsel. So coming out of Finance Committee is Resolution 2023-2, and it does three things. It authorizes the borrowing, it approves the financing documents, and then it delegates the authority to implement the financing to the executive director and staff. And that is subject to parameters. These particular parameters are maximum interest rate, maximum principal amount of the borrowing, length of the financings. So let me take a step back. The commission is using its master indenture, which was put in place in 2018 in order to implement financings of the HRTF, or the regional tax stream. This is not a toll-back financing. The financing, as Ms. Shan said, is a long-term TIFIA financing. The commission has borrowed on 3 separate occasions in the past from the U.S. government, utilizing an interest rate approximately equal to the borrowing rate for the U.S. government. And then the commission can achieve financial economic benefit by delaying that draw and taking advantage from tax-exempt, publicly sold short-term bond anticipation notes. So the documents are before the commission. They are very similar to those used on past transactions. I'm happy to answer any questions about Resolution 2023-02 or the finance documents themselves. It had a full 45-minute discussion in Finance Committee meeting.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Ballou. And before we entertain questions, sir, because you have to have a motion on the floor for that discussion, I'd like to also call on Finance Chair Hippel, if it pleases the commissioners, to report out the activities and the findings of the Finance Committee this morning.
Thank you. The Finance Committee meeting held this morning, the Finance Committee had a detailed discussion on the financial committee took action and recommended that the commission adopt resolution 2023-02 for the proposed 2023 HRTF backed TIFIA bond insurance for up to $143 million and the HRTF immediate lien bond anticipation note insurance for up to $143 million. Much of this is familiar ground as the commission has utilized this TIFIA band's structure on 2 occasions in the recent years. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, the floor is back to you, sir, to entertain motion and discussion, and then have Councilor N'Glima, of course, needs to read the resolution.
Mr. Glima, would you please?
The motion is the commission adopts resolution 2023-02.
So moved. Second.
Could we have this discussion? Delegate Knight?
Yeah, can you go on to the checks and balances on this? You say that you're ceding authority to executive staff only. Is there any checks and balances from any members that are mayors or appointed or anything like that? Or is it, tell me how that works, please, mechanics of it.
Sure. The parameters, Delegate Knight, are that the interest rate not exceed 5.25%, that the principal amount not exceed 143 million, that and the various maturities for the bands, I think it's no more than 5 years, and for the TIFIA loan, not in excess of 40 years. These are statutory limits. The forms of the financing documents are set forth in the package which the commission is approving. And so I think what you have in terms, and this would contain the structure aspects plus the covenants in the indentures and the loan agreements. So those, by and large, sir, would be the guardrails by which the commission's financing is going to proceed. And so the documents and the financing are set forth within that structure. So the commission staff and the finance group would not have authority to proceed with things that are outside of that general scope and structure. So anything that departs principally from the documents that would constitute greater exposure to the commission, I think would have to be brought back to the full board for further action and approval.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I want to be a little more succinct in my question. Who exactly says we can do this? I know we'll vote on it as an action, but what person? Is it the executive director only, or is it someone that's on this appointed board?
I believe it's the chair and vice chair per section 4 of the resolution.
Okay.
On the advice, of course, of the staff and the finance team.
That's clarity I wanted.
No,
Thank you.
and thank you, Mr. N'Glima, because he had the resolution in front of him.
Any other discussion or questions before we vote? Okay. What is the motion again, please?
The motion is the commission adopts resolution 2023-02.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, on that. Next in your board packet is agenda action item 6C. Before you is your decision brief, the amended and restated project agreement for funding and administration for the I-64 Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel Expansion Project, actions in support of VDOT's efforts with reference to project issues to be addressed in Resolution 2023-03. Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, HRTAC staff is recommending the Commission approve the resolution following an opportunity and a request to go into closed session for the Commissioners to sit with staff and council to receive input and dialogue from council in reference to this action and also the documents associated with it. So for that, sir, I'd like to request that you entertain bring it forward to the board that we go into closed session for further discussion with the attorney.
Mr. Gleamer, would you please provide the language for the motion?
Yes, Chair. The motion is that a closed session be held for discussions regarding the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel Expansion Project and the agreements related to the construction and funding of the project in accordance with Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A8 for the purpose of consulting with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel, which communications with counsel will be covered by attorney-client privilege and the common interest doctrine.
Thank you. Any discussion? Could we have a motion, please? Thank you. Thank you. I believe this is voice. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Just for the record, all HRTAC members, both voting and non-voting, will participate in the closed session. In addition, the following, each of whom will reasonably aid HRTAC in its consideration of this agenda item, are invited to the closed session. That includes CAO and of the member cities and counties, HRTAC staff, counsel, and financial advisors, VDOT staff, counsel, and consultants. We ask that everyone else please leave the room at this time.